Hi everybody, this is the Lost Boy with your video game news and my opinions, and thanks for watching. If you enjoy or agree with this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is always appreciated. This year's E3 came and went with its usual cringe-inducing moments and general sense of, I thought this would be cooler than it turned out to be. That said, I'm pretty hyped over the news about two games that were actually announced previous to E3. The first is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. This was obviously an expected title even before it was teased back in March, and fans of the series were already planning on buying it. The huge amount of characters that are now confirmed only cements how well this game will sell. And although it apparently does iterate on the previously developed Smash Bros. Framework, the word is the changes in balancing have fixed or improved issues from earlier versions. The other big one for me is Cyberpunk 2077, announced all the way back in 2012 from CD Projekt Red, the makers of the wildly popular Witcher series of games. We've all seen that reel about 10,000 times of the slow-mo future cops bouncing bullets off a cybernetic femme fatale who's unfurling a wicked-looking set of arm blades. But, as of E3's big showcase, there's now a good bit of new footage to drool over. The new footage is a decent enough follow-up, showing an incredible level of detail and giving us a much fuller idea of the Cyberpunk 2077 world. Descriptions of the gameplay indicate a game that seems to span several distinct game genres. Although it's chiefly described as an RPG, its combat will focus on guns, and is in a first-person perspective. While Fallout 3 and 4 did something similar, this new system seems to have more depth and fluidity than Fallout's old VATS system. Additionally, mechanics for cover, sliding, wall running, and vehicular combat add in a sort of GTA-ish element. Other interesting mentions are an inhaler that creates a sort of bullet time effect, and outfits for your character that affect your stats, as well as something called street cred, and lots of other interesting cyber upgrades. Something else I heard is that the city will include 6 sectors, which will each feature unique styles and cultures, and that even individual skyscrapers will house distinct societies of citizens. And apparently we get all of this without any loading screens. Any takers? One other interesting tidbit was the reference to a backstory generator to be added before release that will allow players to choose a backstory that will unfold throughout the course of the game. That sounds pretty ambitious, and of course all of these details are subject to change. How many times have we been promised something amazing in a yet-to-be-released game that failed to ever materialize? I can't help it though, I have high hopes for this one. Next up, I want to talk about the latest example of moral panic and outrage over video games. The new darling of the gaming scene is a game called Fortnite, a fact of which you are more than likely already aware. Following up on the newfound popularity of PUBG's Battle Royale game, Fortnite added on to the Battle Royale formula by adding visuals that were actually a little bit fun to look at, as well as bringing the building mechanic forward from its earlier iteration, Fortnite Save the World. Add to that the fact that the game is free to play, and that it is now available to play on basically everything other than your old Texas Instruments graphing calculator, and you've got momentum that looks unstoppable at this point. As usual, this has led to mainstream media belatedly becoming aware and trying its best to create yet another moral uproar about that most favorite of modern-day scapegoats, the video game. I've linked several articles from both sides of the argument below if you're interested, but you could probably guess which side I'd come down on. One article starts out by stating outright that the author hates Fortnite, then proceeds to describe it quite negatively before providing 2 anecdotes. The first is about a friend who banned her young sons from toy guns only to have them chew their breakfast toast into gun shapes to pretend shooting at each other. The second anecdote is a story about a 9-year-old girl from the UK who, quote, reportedly wet herself rather than stop playing long enough to go to the loo, hitting her father when he tried to make her stop, unquote. Next, the article implies that the addictive nature of Fortnite comes from the fact that the game is live online multiplayer and that pausing is not even an option due to the nature of the game. The suggestion is then made that this addictive property was inserted intentionally, perhaps even maliciously. Next come the inevitable comparisons to drugs and alcohol, just as if these weren't 9-year-olds we're talking about here. A look at a report on the UK girl has the girl's parents admitting, and I quote, We had no idea when we let her play the game of the addictive nature or the impact it could have on her mental health. She is in therapy for the addiction after she became withdrawn, agitated, and disturbed from playing up to 10 hours a day, sometimes playing until dawn. Wetting herself so that she didn't have to leave the screen, unquote. I don't want to dwell on this. This is a simple problem with a simple solution. It's called stop being a shitty parent. Who honestly lets their 9-year-old play 10 hours of any game per day? And what is this sometimes playing until dawn crap? If you let a 9-year-old have a TV and a game console in their bedroom, what do you think is going to happen? That's the type of thing that ought to come years later and only after the child has proven it can be responsible enough to be trusted. The same goes for most digital devices, in my opinion. If we can see that even adults can have problems adjusting to the availability of technology, why would we ever think that kids could handle this without parental discipline and guidance? I'm so sick of this mentality of publishing the most outrageous crap simply for the sake of views and clicks. It's not very surprising that people continue to focus more on alternative sources of media than the mainstream. Sure, it is having polarizing and destabilizing effects on democracy and world politics, but is that any reason to stop with all of this mainstream sensationalism? I guess not, huh? Finally, I stumbled across something I felt I needed to include while doing research for this week's video. It's an analysis of Waluigi, a darkly themed clone of Mario's brother Luigi, who has happened to develop something of a cult following over the years. It now has added significance since the fan outcry over Waluigi being left out at the new Smash Bros. Ultimate. Here is the excellent postmodern analysis of Waluigi by Frank Ribery. Waluigi is the ultimate example of the individual shaped by the signifier. Waluigi is a man seen only in mirror images. Lost in a hall of mirrors, he is a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. You start with Mario, the wholesome, all-Italian plumbing Superman. You reflect him to create Luigi. The same thing, but slightly less. You invert Mario to create Wario. Mario turns septic and libertarian. Then, you reflect the inversion in the reflection. You create a being who can only exist in reference to others. Waluigi is the true nowhere man. Without the other characters he reflects, inverts, and parodies, he has no reason to exist. Waluigi's identity only comes from what and who he isn't. Without a wider frame of reference, he is nothing. He is not his own man. In a world where our identities are shaped by our warped relationships to brands and commerce, we are all Waluigi. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Please leave any thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Always remember your happy thought, and I'll see you next time.